Let us receive another child of Easter Hill, Reverend Carol Estes. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I was thinking about putting my lipstick on, but I'm going to let that go. That's time. Release that. But hear these words. Behold, woman, here is your son. And son, here is your mother. Words of affection from John 19, 26 through 27. You know, we have heard these words many, 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 many times, haven't we? Good Friday after Good Friday after Good Friday. And I always go into, so what? And what does it mean for us today? All right. Well, when I took a closer look at what it's saying, we could automatically assume that Jesus is extending empathy. Yes. Has a grievous heart because he's looking at his mom and saying, oh, my mother, how sad she is. She's seen a lot of things today. And I want to make sure that she's comforted. Historically, women had to have somebody to take care of them. Right. And he knew that it wasn't the women, but it was the men who were the caretakers. So he looked at his beloved disciple and said, here's my mama, take care of her. Yeah. But I want to ask you to walk a little bit deeper with me into the other end of the pool. I am suggesting that maybe God is saying from the cross, as God looks out over this world that's full of maliciousness, ill-spiritedness, folks who seem like they want to separate themselves from one another. They think that they're not connected, right? Dementia has no relation to anybody. Doesn't matter about the color of your skin, right, the degrees that you have, the money that you have in the bank. Dementia don't care about none of that. So it says, behold, I am with you. And if you don't believe, step into my job as a palliative care chaplain. Cancer don't have no respect of person, place, or thing. Doesn't matter about your degrees. Right. Doesn't matter about your place or your status. Doesn't matter about your last name. Doesn't matter about who you think you connected to. But cancer will rear its ugly head in anybody's household. Behold, right. Cancer will be with you. You see, God looked down, I think, from the cross and said, hey, young man, you taking that gun and you going off into them spas and shooting up a bunch of folks. Hey, young man, you was down at the church in South Carolina killing up 9 people after Bible study. Hey, woman, you can't go and do what you think you can do with those people because behold, this is your mama. This is your son. We ain't separated from one another. We belong to each other. If you think not, go and get a blood test. You O positive like I'm O positive. Your kidney can work in my body like my kidney can work in your body. If I needed a heart transplant, it don't matter about Asian, don't matter about Muslim, don't matter about Buddhist. Behold, it's your heart that can work in my body. See, I think God is looking beyond the biological relationship and looking at us as human beings to say, I have affection for you. And what I need y'all to get an understanding about here, and we're going to talk about the church for a second, because churches is all up on themselves. I'm Catholic. I'm United Methodist. We love that, don't we? That cross and that flame. I'm United Methodist. I've been ordained. Well, what God says is you in relationship, old girl. You in relationship, old boy, with the Catholics, with the Muslims, with the Jewish community. We all need to be in relationship. Behold one another, because it ain't about denomination. It's not about doctrine. Not today. It shouldn't be about. It should be about how can we come together. What does it say? Home is where the heart is, and have affection for one another. It says he took her to his home, and that's where she dwelt. Took her into his heart, and that's where she dwelt. We got to take people into our heart, but we got to embody the spirit of God's heart, which means we got to lay down some of our separatisms so that we can be more together and get this understanding. Behold, we belong to each other. Behold, God is saying we got to work stronger and better so that we can arrest the craziness that's going on. See, our young people are looking for us to say we belong to each other regardless. And maybe, if we could really get that, then that knee should not have been on that boy's neck. That boy should have understood from the time he even started to crack his knee to go down on another brother's neck. That's God's child, and he's God's child. How dare you? That's what God is saying from the cross. How dare you not behold one another? How dare you put a knee on somebody's back? This is my child, as you are my child. We have to behold one another in our heart. See, we got to get a God's heart so that we can treat one another better, see one another with the eyes of God, and be in divine relationship. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. You can love if you won't let me. That's what Aretha say. Ain't no way. You can put a knee on somebody's neck if you understand who you are and whose you are. So I would like to invite you here in the sanctuary and out there into the Facebook land and everywhere else land. It ain't about this church or that church. It ain't about that Asian woman or that Jewish man or that black girl. It's about all of us being God's children. And I think if no other time but today, what it say? We are being forgiven because we don't know what to do. We are in paradise when we recognize, but we first have to behold in our heart God's love and affection so that we can actually stand as full embodied creatures, treating one another right, acting right, and then we can take that knee off somebody else's neck. Because that's not what God has called us into this world to do. God is looking from the cross, and the good news is God has affection for us even when we lose our mind, because we already heard it. God forgives us when we get crazy. But what God is asking and begging and pleading us is looking from the cross today. The good news is I still have affection for you fools. I still have affections for you idiots. I still have affections for those who think that you better than white supremacists. Get off of the Capitol. I still got affection for you. I still love you and want well for you, but you gotta take your knee off the other brother's neck. Because I want you to behold your mama, behold your madre, behold your mother. Son, this is your sister, that's your daughter. Get that girl off the corner. Take that needle out of his arm. Make sure that we eradicate crack in our community. Behold one another, because it's our job. And that's the good news. It's our job. God trusts us that much to put it into our hands. It's our job. Behold, behold, behold. Who do you belong to? I belong to God. Praise be to God. Amen.